can you all hear me? Okay, then I will not put the microphone on. At this point, we will go to the arranged questions. So you will be first in the next round, Steve. And so I will state the question. They have it so that you all know what they're going to ask. It's not in the exact order. Didn't want to let them have it quite that easy in here. So our next question that we have is, what specific steps would you take to improve communication and collaboration in the district? Each candidate will have at the most 3 minutes. Our goal is that each candidate would have a time where they would be able to answer the question first. So Steve, let me get set. Like I said, this time you have at the most 3 minutes. And I know that each one of you will have a lot more to say about probably each one of these, and we'll work on coming back around, because that's what it's all about, is just beginning the discussion. So Steve, go for it.
Of the questions that they posed, I thought that one was the most difficult one to really come up with a really good answer, because the board is faced with, they cannot do anything that's illegal and violates any policies, and that leaves a lot of problems as far as communication and what the public gets back and hears from the board. But at some point, the board's got to be able to come forward and say, this has been brought to the attorney, this has been discussed, these are the things that we can talk to you about in this complaint that's been filed. But you have to also protect the employee that's being complained about, because you can't just arbitrarily speak out against an employee that's unfounded. That's slander. The board needs to be open to people to speak to. They need to not be afraid to talk to the public. They need to be able to listen to them. And the public needs to know what the board's faced with, and the board needs to let the public know what they're faced with. I've talked with Mr. Corman about different stuff, such as unfunded mandates the school district's faced with. Preston and I have talked about the budget itself. You know, you've got 110 people wanting $1 and you only got $100 to give out. So the district got some very difficult decisions to do. And in the process, they got to let the public know what they're doing in the process of answering those questions.
Thank you. All right, Mary, you gotta go.
I have to agree with Steve on quite a few of the points. Because of our policies, because of the ORS, our hands or our voices are tied on some issues. But yes, we do need to communicate. People need to know that they've been heard. That's just a fair thing to do. And my biggest concern is, as a board member, things going out there with board approval and not knowing what it was, not having a copy, seeing a copy that my name was put on. I want to know what is going out.
Well, my thoughts on this, and this is a great question because I think the district is struggling with this. The school board meeting last Monday night I thought was very good, because it was a working session, and what the board was discussing is how do we do a better job of following through on the comments that are shared during the community sharing sessions that have been put as a part of the standing agenda on the monthly school board meeting. And the general conclusion was, and I strongly agree with this, is that each one of the comments should be recorded in some format that's within policy, but then vetted and closed out in subsequent meetings so that everyone that was in attendance could actually see that it was discussed, it was appropriately handled, and there was a process to actually close the loop on it, which I would say has been actually one of my criticisms, is if you have been attending the school board meetings, there's been a lot of good input, but you're never quite sure what happens with that. So I think that's spot on in terms of something that could be done. I think it's already planned to be done in the next meeting. Similarly, I think we should look for opportunities for more public forums, whether it's in the budget setting process or things like this. I wasn't there, but I understand there was a public workshop well over a year ago, and a lot of concerns were raised at that point in time. And one of the, I think, breakdowns again was that there wasn't follow through on the themes that were identified at that meeting. So I'm a proponent of public meetings, again, within whatever policies, whatever rules that we have to abide by. But the important thing is that whatever is discussed, whatever ideas, are tracked all the way through and closed out. Even if it means we couldn't take action, at least there's a rationale behind that. I think that's very important to explain where that particular idea went. In fact, from a budgeting standpoint, I think this has a lot of merit. I have not had a chance to attend the public sessions, but at least this go around. 2 years ago I did, and what I witnessed was there wasn't enough of an opening for public input into the prioritization of the budget. And again, not everyone's perspective is going to get, in the end, necessarily prioritized the way they would like to see it, but at least knowing that your feedback was somehow brought into a process and, again, closed out. I think policies that were put in place over the last couple of years around how the board talks with one another or not, and also how the board interacts with the community, I think all of those policies need to be challenged. I think they need to be brought up, the context understood, why they were put in place. There could be good reasons for it, I don't know, but I'd like to go back and understand that and understand whether they still have merit.
Well, obviously, a lot of the ideas that this group and most interested community members are probably thinking about have been brought up already, and I would echo most of what's been talked about already. And I'll add a few more things. I hope this doesn't come across as being overly negative, but in my experience, I guess the communication or lack thereof has really been a frustration for a lot of people. And I don't want to point fingers or assign blame necessarily, but just bring up some things that I think could change. For example, the district website to me, I'm a guy who lives in the virtual world on my computer all the time, and websites as a means of communication are critical to me in my job, in just about every aspect of my life. And I just happened to peruse the district website today. I've got a list here of the things that were on the website. Budget survey that closed on the 20th was the top story. Rescheduling of a forum from the 21st to the 29th of March. Postponing another one on the 24th. Budget committee deadline on March 2nd. I mean, they're all old news, right? Where's our forward thinking? Where's our forward-going calendar items? Where's the solicitation of input? I think the website could be a really good vehicle for that. Another question in my mind, like Steve, I haven't been able to attend the public budget meetings. Unfortunately for me, they're held on Tuesday nights and I have military commitments those nights. But I would like to be involved. However, I haven't been able to find any meeting notes. Is anyone taking notes or posting them? If so, where could I find them? If we're soliciting public input, maybe there's a way, a forum outside of those meetings to try to collect that information. The website would work great. Being able to write letters would work great. If there was a transcription or a recording, I would love to be involved in that. A couple of other ideas, I guess. To me, yeah, we all know about the complaints procedures and things that have gone on that have been negative. I think as we get past that, we really need to look forward for positive ways to increase communication. And like Steve mentioned, I believe that challenging those policies is going to be really important. I started asking that question a few weeks ago because I wanted to know the same thing, why? And I actually pulled up the board policy that's very explicit about what board members can and can't do. It basically states board members cannot email with one another. Or they can't engage in a dialogue with the community. And it says that it's governed by the Public Records Law. Well, I actually went ahead and read the documentation by the State Secretary, or the Secretary of State, and it's actually very small, the number of things that are prohibited by law. And to me, board members talking with one another, yes, there are certain times that you can't talk with one another. If your intention is to create policy or discuss things where you intend to make a decision, that's prohibited. But that's kind of it. There's nothing against emailing or talking with community members or soliciting input as far as what I've been able to tell. I've asked and I haven't gotten a different answer from anyone yet, but maybe there is another answer out there. So again, I agree that communication is critical. We need to open it up full bore as wide as it can be.
might. Yes, I know. Yes, all right.
Well, you all said just about what I would say, excepting I would add to that, communication is both nonverbal and verbal. And sometimes the nonverbal communication speaks more loudly than the verbal communication does. Often it's not positive. So, but having said that, I think that we need to work to establish an environment where people feel safe to ask questions and make comments and give feedback, both within the district and within the community. I think communication is both top-down and bottom-up. And if there are questions, we have a growth opportunity to really make sure that they are answered in a timely and accurate manner, and publicly and not privately. I think that if it's done privately, it really does play into the business of, it's sort of this backdoor politics thing, and it isn't, you know. What goes on within the district, aside from personnel issues, is really public information. I'd like to see us establish a system where we have periodic community forums on a number or a variety of topics on an ongoing basis. I think that will open things up a lot. And I think we can utilize the district resources in ways we have not done. We talked about that at the work session, actually, about possibly having our FFA people help us with the Robert's Rules of Order. I mean, you know, they're right there, that's what they do, they can help us, it's a win-win for everybody. And I think we can utilize our community resources better, because in reality, we all ought to be working together, not in opposition to one another. And if we can do that, you know, we can do great things. We really can.
Thank you. As we figured out, this is not, we're not going to be allowed to even come close to asking all the questions. So I'm going to ask this time that everyone has 1 minute. It's a briefer question. And then Mary, you would be the first one to answer that. And this question is, what is the proper relationship between the board and the superintendent? I know, I didn't do that on purpose to do that to you, Mary, I promise. I promise I did not.
I see our board role as open communication with all of you and one another, and with the superintendent. And all of us in collaboration for the betterment of the education of our kids. Having information in a timely manner. Don't give me something to read and then turn around and vote on it. And again, board correspondence must be from all board members with all board members' knowledge. Good listening skills and respect